Welcome to this deep dive into the source material. We are so glad you're joining us today. Whether you're actively prepping for a new arrival, stepping up to help a family member, or you're just, insanely curious about early human development, we've got a really fascinating journey mapped out for you.
We really do.
Today, our mission is to cut through all the noise out there about the first 3 months of newborn care. And we are drawing directly from a very grounding source. It's called The Essential Guide to Newborn Care and Daily Routines, written by pediatrician Dr. Mahesh Yadav from BePeace.in.
It's a fantastic resource.
It really is. Our goal for you today is to strip away the anxiety, set aside the marketing for all those expensive baby gadgets, and just focus entirely on the simple, correct routines that genuinely protect a baby's growth and comfort. And I have to say, looking through these notes, the biggest takeaway for me was just how much mental load this guide removes.
Oh, absolutely.
You constantly see ads for complicated techniques and smart bassinets and high-tech wearables. But according to this guide, caring for a newborn just isn't about any of that. It's profoundly simple. You really don't need a spreadsheet to get it right.
No, you don't. In a world of absolute information overload, where new parents are just bombarded with a million different, often conflicting opinions, this source serves as a crucial anchor. Babies don't need tech. They thrive on predictability.
Right.
A predictable routine is what makes them feel biologically safe. That feeling of safety reduces unnecessary crying, and more importantly, it provides the exact foundation required to support their physical, emotional, and early brain development. By doing a few simple things consistently, you're providing the ultimate environment for a newborn to flourish. And you're saving yourself a lot of unnecessary stress.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the absolute foundation, which is nutrition. The guide has a very clear philosophy on feeding for the first 6 months, emphasizing exclusive breastfeeding. But the part that really caught my attention was the approach. The source strongly advises against strict clock feeding.
Yes, that's a big one.
Right. Instead, the protocol is to feed on demand. I think a lot of people assume you need a strict schedule, like feeding exactly every 3 hours, but the biology here suggests otherwise.
The mechanism behind feeding on demand is entirely tied to how a newborn's digestive system operates. That and the biological feedback loop of milk production. A newborn's stomach is incredibly small. It's literally the size of a cherry at birth.
Wow, a cherry.
Yeah, and then it expands to about the size of an egg after a month. Because breast milk is so easily and quickly digested, that tiny stomach empties rapidly. If you force a baby to wait for an arbitrary time on the clock, you are ignoring their physiological reality. Plus, milk supply is entirely demand-driven. The more the baby signals hunger and feeds, the more the body knows to produce.
Which means you have to actually watch the baby, not the clock.
Exactly.
The source provides specific hunger cues to look for. Rooting where they turn their head, searching for food-sucking movements, or bringing their hands to their mouth. Crying is actually listed as a late cue.
By the time they're crying, they're already distressed.
Right. And while we aren't watching the clock strictly, the guide does provide a baseline so you aren't flying completely blind. You can expect feeding every 2 to 3 hours, which maps out to about 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period. And each session should be about 30 minutes total. Roughly 15 minutes on each side.
Following that rhythm prevents dehydration, irritability, and poor weight gain. But the process doesn't end when the feeding stops.
Right, the burping. This completely changed my perspective. I always assumed burping a baby meant you just give them a quick pat on the back until they let out a little burp, put them down, and go to sleep.
What's fascinating here is the specific metric Dr. Yadav provides regarding this process. The source notes that 95% of the time, the baby will actually burp in the initial 2 to 5 minutes of you panning them. But parents need to continue to hold the baby upright and gently pat their back for a full 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Even if they already gave you a great burp in the first 2 minutes, I have to imagine holding a baby upright for 15 minutes at 3 a.m. while you're desperately trying not to fall asleep yourself feels like an eternity. Why is that full duration so critical?
It sounds excessive until you realize what's happening physiologically. You aren't just looking for a burp. A newborn's esophageal sphincter, the little muscular valve at the top of the stomach that keeps food down, is highly immature and floppy.
Okay.
Think of it like a faulty valve on a water bottle. If you lay the baby flat immediately after that first burp, the milk can easily slide right back up, bringing stomach acid with it. By holding them upright for the full 15 minutes, you're letting gravity do the work for their immature digestive tract.
That makes a lot of sense.
It assists the full milk digestion process, properly releases any remaining microbubbles of swallowed air, and fundamentally prevents the discomfort, vomiting, and heartbreaking crying that happens when a baby is suffering from trapped gas.
You're using gravity as a medical tool. So, once that 15-minute gravity assist is done, we move to the physical environment, specifically sleep. The rules outlined here are incredibly strict. The baby must sleep on their back on a firm mattress, absolutely no pillows, no loose sheets, no toys in the sleeping area, and no blankets.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, good sleep hygiene is your primary defense against sudden sleep-related complications. The reason the rules are so rigid, particularly the firm mattress and lack of pillows or blankets, comes down to a risk called CO2 rebreathing.
CO2 rebreathing.
Yes. If a baby rolls their face into a soft pillow or a plush mattress, they can create a small pocket where they would just breathe in their own exhaled carbon dioxide instead of fresh oxygen. Their brains aren't mature enough to wake them up when oxygen drops.
That is terrifying, but it perfectly explains why the environment must be entirely clear. The source also makes a highly critical distinction that we need to emphasize here. Room sharing is recommended, but bed sharing is not.
The risk variables of bed sharing are just too uncontrolled. Adult mattresses are typically too soft, there are heavy blankets, and adults can roll. Room sharing, however, is the safest setup. The baby is in the same room as you, in their own separate, clear, firm sleeping space. This setup actually allows you to hear those early hunger cues we talked about, the lip smacking or restlessness before it escalates to full crying.
Now, outside of the sleep environment, there is a daily routine the source recommends that relies entirely on nature. Morning sunlight exposure. The specifics are to give the baby a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes of indirect, natural sunlight. Gentle, ambient morning light, avoiding harsh or direct sun.
It's a brilliant, entirely natural intervention. That 10 to 15 minutes initiates the baby's own natural vitamin D production, which is essential for healthy bone growth. But it also does something else crucial. It helps manage newborn jaundice, which is a very common condition where the baby's skin takes on a yellow tint.
How does sunlight actually fix the yellow tint?
Jaundice happens because a newborn's liver is still learning how to process a yellow pigment called bilirubin, which is created when old red blood cells break down. While severe cases need medical light therapy, gentle indirect sunlight actually changes the molecular structure of the bilirubin in the skin so the baby's body can excrete it more easily.
That's incredible. The sun is essentially helping their liver catch up. But the text mentions a very specific caveat. This sunlight exposure is not recommended if it's a windy environment.
That caveat is all about thermoregulation. A newborn cannot shiver to create heat, and they don't have enough insulating fat yet. A windy environment could rapidly strip away their body heat, putting them into cold stress. So the environment must be calm.
Keeping them warm and safe also extends to their daily hygiene. The guide covers the daily care of the baby's eyes, skin, genitals, and very importantly, the umbilical cord stump until it naturally falls off. The overarching rule is cleanliness to reduce infection risk. And the absolute most crucial step. Parents must wash their hands before touching the baby, especially after coming inside from the outdoors.
A newborn's immune system is completely naive. It's like a brand new computer with no antivirus software installed yet. They haven't built up antibodies to the everyday germs we carry. Hand washing isn't just a suggestion, it is the literal physical barrier you place between the outside world and your baby to prevent infection. Keep the clothing clean, keep the surroundings clean, and religiously wash those hands.
That emphasis on keeping the outside world out actually bleeds perfectly into the next section. Here's where it gets really interesting. The guide provides an explicit do not do list. It tackles well-meaning but potentially dangerous traditions and common mistakes. We need to go through these facts directly from the text because they are critical. Let's start with diet. First, no honey before 1 year of age.
This is a strict medical rule. Honey can contain spores of a bacteria called Clostridium botulinum. In older kids and adults, our mature digestive systems easily pass these spores without issue. But a newborn's gut microbiome is still developing. If those spores colonize in a baby's intestines, they produce a toxin that causes infant botulism, which leads to severe muscle weakness and breathing issues.
So honey is an absolute no. Second on the list, no water, none. And specifically, the text says no gripe water and no Janam Gudi before 6 months of age. I understand the no water rule generally, but for listeners unfamiliar, what is Janam Gudi and why are we avoiding all of this so strictly?
Janam Gudi is a traditional herbal formulation popular in parts of South Asia, often given to infants to supposedly aid digestion. Gripe water is similar. It's a liquid supplement sold over the counter for colic. The reason Dr. Yadav's guide strictly forbids them along with plain water is twofold. First, breast milk is about 87% water. It provides all the hydration a baby needs, even in hot weather. Introducing plain water or herbal liquids fills up that tiny cherry-sized stomach, meaning the baby drinks less nutrient-dense milk.
So you're accidentally starving them of calories by filling them with water.
Exactly. And the second, more dangerous reason involves their kidneys. A newborn's kidneys are too immature to handle plain water. It can flush out crucial sodium from their bloodstream, leading to a very dangerous condition called water intoxication, which can cause seizures. Plus, traditional remedies like Janogudi or gripe water carry a huge risk of introducing bacteria into that naive gut we just talked about.
So before 6 months, just stick to the milk. Third on the list, no bottle feeding unless it is medically indicated and recommended by a doctor. Fourth, no force feeding. As we discussed, you follow the baby's biological cues. Fifth, no shaking the baby when they are crying.
That cannot be stressed enough. A newborn's neck muscles are incredibly weak and their brain is very fragile. Shaking them causes the brain to rebound against the skull, leading to severe, often irreversible brain injury or death. If the crying is overwhelming, it is always safer to put the baby down in their safe sleep space and step away for a moment.
Absolutely. Sixth on the do not do list, no overheating the baby with too many clothes. And seventh, no applying home remedies to the umbilical cord.
The umbilical cord rule is another big clash with tradition. In many cultures, well-meaning relatives might suggest applying powders, oils, or even cow dung ash to the cord stump to help it heal. Medically, this is a massive risk for sepsis. The modern pediatric consensus, which this guide champions, is dry cord care. You just keep it clean, keep it dry, and let it fall off on its own.
Speaking of well-meaning traditions, the guide also addresses baby massage and oiling. And I have to share exactly how it's phrased in the text because it brought me so much joy. The recommendation is to use gentle oiling on the body and the face, and the source recommends natural coconut oil. But when it comes to the baby's head, the text specifically says the head can be left safely alone because, quote, hairs do have own growing technique.
I love that line. Hairs do have own growing technique. It's brilliant. It's the doctor's way of telling parents to stop worrying about trying to stimulate hair growth with aggressive massaging or specialized oils on the scalp. Nature has a plan. Just gently moisturize the body and face with a simple, natural coconut oil and let the hair figure itself out.
Leave the hair alone. Now, while the text tells us to avoid a lot of things, no honey, no water, no home remedies, it does highlight one very specific addition: supplementation.
Yes. While almost everything else is kept away, vitamin D supplementation is described in the text as the gold standard until the baby is 1 year old. Because breast milk doesn't typically transfer enough vitamin D, and because we are being careful about sun exposure, vitamin D drops are the one universal supplement aiming to support that rapid bone growth.
So what does this all mean for the big picture? We've talked about the physical inputs, the milk, the sleep, the sunlight, but the guide also maps out the baby's dashboard, and a huge part of that is the emotional connection. The source dictates that daily interaction should include talking to your baby, smiling at them, maintaining eye contact, and holding them close for skin-to-skin contact.
The science behind why we do this is profound. Loving touch, eye contact, and a calm voice are literally brain fuel. When a baby experiences skin-to-skin contact, their body releases oxytocin, which stabilizes their heart rate and breathing. The source states that babies learn emotional security and receive crucial brain stimulation through this daily interaction. You are essentially wiring their neurological pathways for a sense of safety and connection just by holding them close and smiling.
But if we aren't using complex gadgets to track their vitals, how do we know the baby is actually physically thriving on this routine? The answer from Dr. Yadav is wonderfully low-tech. You monitor their output, the diapers are your dashboard.
It's the most reliable indicator of health. If what's going in is sufficient, you'll see the evidence coming out.
The specifics are clear. A healthy newborn will pass urine 6 to 8 times a day, and they will have regular stools. If they are passing very little urine, or if they have new stools, the text warns that this indicates feeding problems or dehydration. It's a direct, undeniable metric.
This raises an important question, though. You monitor the output, you watch for the cues, but when do you actually bypass the simple routines and seek professional medical help? The guide doesn't leave this to guesswork. It provides a definitive list of red flags.
Let's list those exact red flags. First, if the baby refuses, feeds repeatedly. Second, if they have a fever. And for a newborn, the threshold is incredibly strict. Anything over 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius is a medical emergency. Is that threshold different from a toddler?
Very different. A toddler might run a mild fever from a common cold and just need rest. But because a newborn's immune system is so naive, a fever of 100.4 or higher can be the only outward sign of a severe systemic infection like meningitis or sepsis. You don't wait and see with a newborn fever.
Yeah,
Go to the doctor.
good to know. Third red flag, if they are breathing fast or breathing with chest indrawing. What exactly does chest indrawing look like to a panicked parent?
A newborn's rib cage is very pliable. If they are suffering from respiratory distress, maybe a severe lung infection, they have to work incredibly hard to pull air in. Chest indrawing is when you see the skin forcefully sucking in under their rib cage or between their ribs with every breath. It means they're using accessory muscles just to survive. It is a major warning sign.
Next red flag on the list. You must see a doctor if the baby becomes very sleepy or is difficult to wake up. Also, persistent vomiting. And as we just mentioned, passing very little urine. Finally, if their skin becomes deep yellow and that yellowing spreads down to their legs.
That spreading yellow color indicates that the jaundice we discussed earlier is worsening. The bilirubin levels are climbing too high, moving from the head down the body. And it requires professional medical evaluation and likely phototherapy, not just the morning sunlight. And rounding out the medical advice in the source is a firm note on vaccinations. Timely immunization protects babies from life-threatening diseases, and the guide states in no uncertain terms that vaccines should never be delayed. You follow the schedule to give their naive immune system the blueprints it needs to fight off real threats.
It's all so clear. Let's wrap this up. We have covered a lot of ground today, but for you listening, the core takeaway is beautifully reassuring. The first 3 months of a newborn's life are not about complex interventions. They aren't about rigid clock watching or having the most expensive high-tech gear. It is entirely about simple, repeated patterns of care. Feed on demand, use gravity and burp them for 15 minutes, sleep on the back on a firm mattress with no loose bedding, catch a little indirect morning sun, use gentle coconut oil, keep your hands clean and monitor their diapers. You are just creating a safe, consistent biological world for them.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on everything we've just unpacked. If the biological reality, as clearly outlined in this pediatric guide, is that newborns thrive purely on simple, consistent routines, natural sunlight, and basic human connection like skin-to-skin contact, how much of our modern anxiety about parenting is actually necessary? Think about the massive industry of baby products out there. The rigid scheduling books, the smart bassinets, the sleep-tracking wearables. How much of that tech is genuinely designed for the baby's actual physiological well-being versus just being an industry attempt to sell a false sense of control to totally overwhelmed, sleep-deprived parents? It's something worth questioning the next time you feel pressured to buy the newest piece of baby gear.
Wow, that is a fantastic point to end on. A huge thank you to you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. Remember, keep it simple, keep it safe, and just be present. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.